Yes.
Pyrex and microwave
I'm
in the
out
wrist.
here,
You
you
probably
heard?
think I'm baking cake when I'm working the whip. You probably think it's Pyrex.
Whole lot of shots followed after I bust your snot box with this a rock bottle. Shoot the fair one, mono a mono the clown.
Welcome to the Senior Basketball Analyst Top 4 Shooting Guard Special. But before we get started, that man with the spin move right there that you just saw had 17,000 rebounds over a 20-year NBA career. Moses Malone, rest in war. Now, to get to the subject at hand, we got the top 4 shooting guards of the 2014-2015 NBA season, and the top of the shooting guard position, like any position, is full of great players, Hall of Famers. But the shooting guard position as a whole is a dead position. It's almost as dead a position as the center position. It's a dead position. It's terrible position. I mean, there are guys in this position going to the All-Star game. I mean, Kyle Korver was an All-Star at the shooting guard position. Kyle Korver is neither a shooting guard nor a star. He's not either. So that just goes to show you how disastrous this position is at this time. A couple of guys that did not make the list that I'm going to start off with didn't make it. First of all, Wes Matthews Jr. Wes Matthews Jr. was in contention. I had to think long and hard about him. Is he top 4? Is he 4? Is he 5? Whatever. I thought long and hard about it. Wes Matthews Jr., his strengths, he moves without the ball tremendously. He's great. He's a weak side cut guy. He's a tremendous defender, dead-eye three-point shooter. And he's one of these guys that can shoot threes both from the wing and the corner. He's not just a corner 3 guy, but he is really great at it. He's also a wing shooter as well. So he was a tremendous compliment to LaMarcus Aldridge, in that LaMarcus Aldridge always had space in the high post, largely due to the fact that you always had to be aware of where Wes Matthews Jr. was. Wes Matthews Jr. is the type of guy, if you slip and keep acting silly, he'll hit 5-6 threes on you in a game. And as I said earlier, lockdown defender. He's a tremendous, versatile defender. Wes Matthews Jr. is one of these players that doesn't get talked about a lot, but he's really, really good. And we just hope that he can come back from that ACL injury, Achilles tendon injury, which was devastating. When you have a ruptured Achilles tendon, that has ended careers. For every Dominique Wilkins that is able to return to star form, you have a whole list of other guys that have either retired because of it or were never the same after it. Chauncey Billups coming into my mind, right away, as a guy that was never really the same after he ruptured his Achilles. Isaiah Thomas, I don't even think Isaiah Thomas attempted to play anymore after he ruptured his Achilles. So we hope that Wes Matthews Jr. can come back. Dallas has a very interesting roster right now, adding Deron Williams, and you wonder if Deron is going to be able to, what Darren's going to be able to provide for him, because for them. But that's another topic for another show. Also not making the top 4, Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson, for all the talk that Klay Thompson gets, and all the media attention that he gets, the NBA, he's one of those guys that, the NBA is really trying to turn him into a marketable star. They talk about him a lot. And some of that is probably due to the fact that he's playing with Steph Curry, and Steph Curry, being league MVP. He's one of the Splash Brothers. But Klay Thompson, he he's one of these people that gets talked about a lot, but he's not as great as the guys ahead of him. And you know what? Frankly, he's not doesn't garner a lot of interest. I know on the show I did a whole episode on Klay Thompson. People don't watch it. You know, everybody's watching like everything but that. Like people are not paying any attention to the Klay Thompson video I did. No one cares. And frankly, I think a lot of it is due to the fact that intuitively people understand what I'm about to explain to you about Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson is a really good basketball player and potentially could make the Hall of Fame. But if you're talking about coming off a single double, coming off a pin down, especially spot up, Klay Thompson is deadly. He's as deadly as it gets in the league. He's arguably the best shooter in the league. He's tremendous when you set him up, and he has the quickness and speed to get open even in tough situations. The downside is, and when you talk about is a guy going to lead a team's offense, the trouble with him is he struggles in one-on-one situations. He is unable to shoot pull-ups going to his left. He also struggles to finish at the rim going to his left with either hand. He doesn't even finish with his strong hand. He's going to his left very well. I think in the Klay Thompson video, I gave this example, but I'll give it again here. Tony Allen had that dude so discombobulated when they were in the playoffs again in the Memphis Golden State series. Tony Allen playing Klay to his right because Klay doesn't score well going to his left. Klay Thompson's going to his left, and he surprised Tony. So Tony just gave it up and let him go. Klay gets to the basket and blows the dunk. It was a wide open dunk. There was nobody anywhere near him. Like if you were playing a video game, you blew that dunk, you'd be pissed. You'd be like, "Oh, that's BS, man. That's stunk." But that's the struggle that Klay has when that's the struggle Klay has in one-on-one situations. He's not a very good facilitator, and he's an okay rebounder, but he's not a very good facilitator. And he also is not a great defender. He can defend, but he's a very overrated defender. We saw some of the goofy fouls that he commits. And you know what I predict actually about Klay, I think that'll be the area of his game that improves most because he's a very willing defender and he's trying very hard. And I mean real effort. I don't mean fake phony effort. I mean real effort. He wants to be a lockdown defender. He wants to be that guy that's a go-to guy defensively, that you put him on multiple positions depending on who's hot. He wants to be that guy, and I think that he has the talent. He's a real rangy guy. He's one of the better shot blocking guards in the league. He's excellent at challenging shots on opponents, and he will help and occasionally get a block. So I think that will be the area of his game that actually improves most over his career. That's why I said he's potentially a Hall of Famer. I can see Hall of Fame potential in him right now at this stage of his career, at this early stage of his career. But I don't think that he's as good as the guys that I'm about to get to right now. So with that said, number 4, the former Maverick, now Milwaukee Buck, Milwaukee Buck. That was the team he came from. Indiana Pacer, Monte Ellis. Monte Ellis is a tremendous player. And you know what? You can book it. Every year he's gonna come in at 19 points, get you 4 assists. He's a lead guard. This is a guy that's he reminds me. I mean, I'm going to give you a kind of a goofy example because he's so much more athletic than him, but I think functionally it turns into being the same thing. He reminds me of Joe Dumars. And the reason he reminds me of Joe Dumars is he's a guy that you can both score off of a catch, and in terms of someone else setting him up. He also can go one-on-one and score also, and he facilitates very well. This is a guy that can fill in as a 1 or a 2. We all know Joe Dumars ended his career as a point guard. Monte Ellis has always been a guy that could play the point and can play that number 1 facilitator and set the table for everyone else, have the ball in his hands, not just be a scorer. but he also can go one-on-one and get his buckets, and he's a good defender. People say he's not a good defender, but that's not true. That's not true at all. Monte Ellis is very difficult to handle the ball against. He's very good at pressuring the ball, and his quickness, he has both quick hands and quick feet. He's actually a good defender, especially in today's NBA where most people don't play any defense. Monte Ellis is over his ability to defend and score. There aren't very many players that do both the way he does. And again, like I said, he's great in that if you bring him to your team, you can use him to set the table. So I can put him in pick and roll situations consistently throughout the game. And not only is he able to find the roller or the pick and pop guy, he can find him, but he can also throw that skip pass across, and he makes really good decisions. There's a reason that the Dallas Mavericks were one of the most efficient offenses in the league last year, and it's not Dirk. Dirk's time being that guy is over. It was not Dirk. That's why Mark Cuban went out and got Dirk a lot of help, because Dirk's in the twilight of his career. The days of him being the MVP and being the key cog offensively are over. Monte Ellis was that guy for them, and they knew they needed to get help, and that's why they went and got Darren Williams and Wes Matthews Jr. That's the reason they did that. Monte Ellis is a guy you can have him shoulder the load of an offense and have him and have him run with it. So that's number 4. Number 3, one of my favorite players of all time, and kind of a local guy. I shouldn't say kind of a local guy. He is a local guy, for those of us out here in Chicago. Mr. Dwyane Wade. I don't know why his name is spelled like that. Never understood it. For the longest, I was spelling his name wrong. It's Dwyane. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to tell a quick Dwyane Wade story. Dwyane Wade, my brother played against Dwyane Wade in the playoffs in high school, and it was the last few seconds of the game, and my brother's team was up 1. The Wade's team was on the free throw line. Wade at that time, back in high school, you could see the elements of this in his game even to this day. Dwyane Wade was a forward in high school. And at this stage of the game, he was playing power forward, so he was lined up below the block on the free throw line. Shot goes up, and he stepped in front of the opponent's best player, blocked him out, rebounded the ball, stuck it back in, game over. They should have lost the game. They should have on that free throw, game should have been over. He stuck it back in and won the game. And I remember watching him and saying, "Man, this kid has a lot of elements that make him, athletically superior." There's a lot of things about his game in terms of, because what I found watching him as a kid, I thought, man, he has a lot of strength and quickness. Usually the stronger a player is, the quicker they are not, right? You see it in NFL or the NBA. He had both. And then as you saw at Marquette, it became horrifically obvious. It was like, nah, this guy, and you know what? Look up and look up if you look up Pat Riley. See if you could find the video of him when he drafts Dwyane Wade and the grin he had on his face. It was as a, if you looked at if you were looking at for the Bulls to try to move up and get Dwyane Wade and try to get him, and you were like, and the Bulls ended up with Kirk Heinrich. Yeah, that's who the Bulls ended up with. And Pat Riley, everybody was saying he was going to draft somebody else because he already had Eddie Jones, and he had this grin on his face like he knew he had a ring in his pocket just by doing that. And naturally it panned down, and that's where you see where Pat Riley is brilliant, and most of the other team presidents are morons. It's pretty simple. Dwyane Wade, his career is on the downside. Obviously, he's not what he used to be, and mainly his knees make it such that he can't play every game. Even still, he's so effective The guy is such a high percentage player. He's always a 50% field goal shooter. Um, he gets to the rim and can finish like few others. He also is a fantastic facilitator. Uh, he's also a fantastic defender. This dude is bull strong, can defend almost any position, even though he's small. He can almost defend any position. He's terrifying in the passing lanes. He's fantastic on the break. There's very few players in the league that are as devastating in fast break situations as Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade really gives you a complete superstar type game, and this is why he has multiple championships. This is the reason. You know, he got a ring before LeBron got there, and then he paired up with LeBron and Chris Bosh, and they put some more rings in their pocket. Dwayne Wade is he's an all-time great, and frankly, he's going to go down in history as the number 3 shooting guard ever, behind Kobe Bryant and of course the great Michael Jordan. That these are the facts of the matter. And I'm going to tell you something else. I'm going to tell you something you don't hear very often because everybody's too busy, jock sniffing Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant probably is a better player because he's such a devastating scorer. He probably is a better player than Dwayne Wade overall. There's been years where I felt like Wade had better seasons because Dwayne Wade, when he was in his prime, Dwayne Wade was the best defender in his position. Now that he's gotten older and a little slower, there's guys I would take over him defensively at the shooting guard position. Obviously, the best defender I think in the world is Tony Allen. So obviously, there's people I would take over Wade now. But in his prime, Dwayne Wade, rim protection, all of that stuff. Dwayne Wade did it all defensively. And so there were years where I would definitely have taken Wade over Kobe. There were years I would have done that. But overall, I think Kobe has had the better career and will go down as the better player. But when you talk about the Jordan comparison, and I've always been irritated about it because it's largely irrelevant anyway. This is largely an irrelevant issue. But since it gets thrown around so much, I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. Kobe Bryant does a good job of, miming Michael Jordan. He kind of speaks with that same cadence and talks about the game of basketball. Speaks like that, and he walks like Jordan, and he shoots the signature fade away from the kind of second act of Jordan's career. Where he comes in and he comes back out of retirement, and he no longer has the cat quick first step, so now he's going to move into kind of a post, a post up, high post type of game. Kobe Bryant has that. But in terms of how they score, how they defend, how they just play in general, there's not a whole lot of similarity other than they're high scoring guys that both play shooting guard. There's not a whole lot of similarity. And in fact, and this is out of a guy playing in the same offense. He's playing in the exact same offense for the same coach. They didn't operate from the same areas most of the time. Go back and watch an ESPN. Go back and watch one of these Jordan games. They're all over the internet. They're all over ESPN Classic, Hardwood Classics on NBA TV as well. So there's a lot of different places. You probably have, if you're watching this, you have access to one of those things. Go watch Jordan's games and then watch Kobe Bryant play today or play back when he was playing with Shaq. Back when they were winning championships. There's very little similarity between the way they operate within the exact same offense. On the other hand, Dwayne Wade operates in the same way that Jordan did. I should say it's similar. Dwayne Wade is a drive first guy like Jordan was. He also does a tremendous job of moving without the ball to score. Kobe does not. Kobe usually just ISOs people. That's Kobe's game. He ISOs you, and then he ISOs you again, and then he ISOs you again. You know who Kobe Bryant actually plays like? Melo. If Kobe Bryant didn't have rings, like he was stranded on dead franchises like Denver and New York, if he was stranded in places like that, if he had, for example, when the Hornets back then drafted Kobe, if he had been stuck there instead of been traded on draft night, I think he was traded for Vlade Divac, if I remember correctly. If he had been stuck there and never had any rings, he'd be Melo. Everyone would hate him. He'd be Melo. Everybody would say he's greedy and selfish and he was whack, and everybody would hate him because it's the same thing. They actually play very similar. But Wade, and especially, but more than offense, defensively. Defensively, Dwayne Wade functions the way that Jordan did defensively. He's not as great as Jordan. He wasn't even at his best. He wasn't as great a defender. Jordan was like I said before in previous videos, he's the best defender in his position of all time, and I don't even think it's really that close. But Dwayne Wade is the type of guy, just like Jordan. Dwayne Wade protects the rim. He defends multiple positions. He's fantastic at moving his feet. He will stick you up. He's in the passing lanes. He's a true superstar on the defensive end, just like Jordan. Now, a lot of you are probably listening to this and like, man, see your basketball analyst, man, he's smoking crack on this one. He's off base. Well, you know what? I'm going to let somebody else speak for me on this very quick, very briefly. So, do you remember when Dwayne Wade first switched over from being, because they're owned by the same company, but they first switched over from being Converse to Brand Jordan? You remember they had a little commercial where this guy, supposedly somebody was having a nightmare about Dwayne Wade. You remember that commercial? Well, I'm going to show you something. Check it out. You catch that? One more time. Now you see it. So here's the thing. The only point I'm making is this. Jordan seems to think so too. It's not like Kobe. It's not like Kobe. Look, this is all Nike stuff, right? It's not like Kobe. It's not like they're not aware Kobe exists, right? But Dwayne Wade really is the guy that when you talk about his play, Dwayne Wade is the guy that plays like Jordan. It's not about being as good as Jordan. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's the closest caliber player to Jordan. That probably is Kobe. But I'm just talking about stylistically and bringing to the game the same thing, not stylistically, but bringing to the game functionally the same things that Jordan did. He brings those same things, even if not to the same degree. He brings those same things to the table. Again, Dwayne Wade, still to this day, one of the best defenders at his position, scores at a very efficient clip, can set the table and facilitate for others, devastating in fast break situations, multiple ways to score. The only real weakness he has offensively is because he's a great ball handler. Only the real weakness he has is three-point shooting, which he clearly doesn't need because he shoots 50% from the field. Doesn't need to shoot threes. He scores at the basket, where you're more efficient anyway, right? So Dwayne Wade, number 3. Now, top 2. And you could probably do process of elimination now and kind of figure out who the top 2 are. Number 2, hometown kid here, Jimmy G Buckets. You got to love Jimmy Butler, man. You got to love it. You got to love a guy that you can see the work from summer to summer and from season to season. Jimmy Butler goes in the summer. He always comes back with new stuff in the toolkit, man. You got to love this guy. Jimmy Butler is he's the most complete player at his position, man. He gives you everything. And I'm telling you, man, Jimmy Butler literally does not have weaknesses. He doesn't have weaknesses at this point. Now, again, as you see, he's number 2. He's not the best player in the league. He's not the best player in his position, but he's the most complete. He does everything. He scores from the perimeter. He scores in the post. He hits threes. He can facilitate. He defends multiple positions, and he's great at it. Lockdown defender. Jimmy Butler has had games in this season where every shooting guard in the league, he's terrorized the guy. He had games against Bradley Beal. He made that dude look like a D-leaguer. He made James Harden look stupid. The dude is tremendous, man. He's tremendous. And what you hope is you hope he can maintain it. And it's not a thing of where, everybody likes to do this because people like to always denigrate athletes for making money. It's not that I think he's going to get his contract and get comfortable and quit. I think that when you play the way he plays, and especially when you play the amount of minutes he plays, because that's the other thing about him. He's a huge minutes guy, man. He leads the league. And the other thing, remember, I don't know, look this stat up. It's a crazy stat. Somebody would decided they're going to calculate the miles run per game. Jimmy Butler leads the league in miles run per game. This dude is grinding himself in the dust. That's the worry I have with him, is that he won't be physically able to maintain this pace. But in the meantime, until he drops off, Jimmy Butler is scary. He's scary for opponents because there's no way really to game plan against everything he's going to bring to the table. And that's really the measure to me of a true superstar lead dog type player. When we can't really game plan for you, this guy is going to be so effective, and there's not really anything we can do about it. You can defend people, you can go out and you can, stop people in certain instances. You can make things hard for them. But when a guy does things like, you know what, here, I'll talk about Chris Webber's analysis of Kevin Garnett. And Chris Webber was on TNT one day talking about Garnett and saying, playing against Kevin Garnett, you can't really game plan for him because the stuff he's doing, you can't really stop all of it. You can't stop all of it. Even if you sit there and you feel like you're having a good game and you're playing good defense against him, and then you look up and he's got 15 rebounds and he's playing lockdown defense and he's helping out and he's facilitating for other guys, and you look up and he's had a great game even though you feel like you played him well. That's the kind of player Jimmy Butler is. Jimmy Butler, not only does he do the big things that stars have to do, he does all the little things too. He's a hustle guy. He's a grit and grind guy, in addition to being all these other things that a superstar is supposed to be in terms of getting the ball and attacking defenses, in terms of, again, creating for his teammates. He's diving for loose balls, switching on to multiple players, all of these things. Jimmy Butler is a great, great player, and I just hope he can maintain this pace because if he does, he has an opportunity to be one of the best players to ever play his position. That's the kind of season he just had. He was that dominant. I hope he can continue it. I hope he can keep it up. And the number one player, of course, obviously, and he was basically the consensus, best player, according to the NFL, NBA PA at their awards, James Harden. Oh boy, James Harden. James Harden, man, he's a whipping boy. People like to make fun of him, but when it comes time to play, man, when the playoffs come, James Harden showed you what he's about, man. He showed you against the Golden State Warriors with just dominating performances, triple double, throwing those triple doubles, and they weren't soft triple doubles, man. Those are hard triple doubles. Those are triple doubles with 30 and 40 points. In terms of his defense, the defense, and you know what? James Harden is a prime example of superstar D. He's a prime example where he's like, you know what? They don't pay anybody to defend the regular season. And I lose my man. I don't really pay attention. When those playoffs come, check your boy Klay Thompson and check that shooting percentage. Man, James Harden is still to this day. He was in Oklahoma City. He was known for his defense in Oklahoma City. James Harden can still turn up that D. He's not like some of these guys that they try to turn up the D and they can't do it. James Harden can turn up the defense and actually play it. Now, to his obvious strengths, James Harden, one of the best shooters in the league from anywhere on the court. He's one of the guys, he's a mid-range guy. He's a guy that can score in the mid-range, can put you to sleep with that dribble. As soon as you, kind of get your feet out of position, then he takes off on you. James Harden's not quick. You know what James Harden is? He's an expert at timing. He waits until you lean the wrong way, and he takes off. He's tremendous at it. He gets dudes every time with it. He's so active. Body positioning. He's got the Paul Pierce type awareness where he can step around you. He can step around you for a second, and then step back real quick and then leave you over there. And real good footwork, not traveling footwork. Good footwork. Leave you over there and then let that left-handed jumper flick. Get into the basket. Strong upper body. He doesn't even look like he lifts weights. Doesn't matter. Strong as a bull. Gets into the paint. And, he finishes like a little kid. He shoots jump shot layups like a little kid. Doesn't matter because he's an expert at knowing where the defenders are, putting one of those big shoulders into the guy, and then finishing, drawing contact, and still scoring. The guy is tremendous, man. You know what he is, man? He's like a dude that has like some kind of cheat code on or something because he's always manipulating and moving things around into to suit his needs. He's tremendous. And then, of course, facilitating. That's why he was throwing those triple doubles around so easily. He draws defenders and kicks to open people so well. So this is not an easy thing to do. James Harden is basically a one-man offense. Now, I always criticize Coach Kevin McHale for not dumping the ball down into Dwight Howard and not utilizing Dwight Howard to its fullest. I always criticize him. It's not James Harden's job to figure that out, though. James Harden monopolizes the ball, but you know what? He gets it done. He finds his opponent. He finds his teammates. He scores at will. He's one of the best players in the league, and he's definitely tops at his position. You know, and I was listening to some guys on the radio locally here in Chicago, and they were like, "Oh, I don't know if I want James Harden on my team." Well, you don't know if you want James Harden on your team because you don't know anything about basketball. Like, you don't want James Harden, you're a fool. You're a fool. So that's number one. So to recap, you got Monte Ellis, number 4. You know, a guy, again, strength of the pick and roll, ability to facilitate and score, has been doing it for almost a decade now, and he's going to keep doing it. Dude is outstanding with his quickness and ability to finish at the rim. And he's a very, very underrated defender. My guy, Dwayne Wade, still doing it, still one of the best to ever do it. With just an all-around superstar game, defense, scoring, facilitating, just gives you everything. He's got multiple rings for a reason. You know, our guy Jimmy Butler. You know, Jimmy Butler, the most complete player at his position. Jimmy Butler would start on any team in the league, literally any team in the league. Most teams he would start as shooting guard, but if you put him on the Rockets, he'd start over Trevor Ariza as small forward. Remember, Jimmy Butler came into the league, natural position as small forward. So he's actually a little better there. He started on any team in the league. And then, of course, James Harden. You know, this dude, well, the players told you what they thought of James Harden. So, their award show. So, James Harden, best shooting guard in the league. That's our top 4. Harden, Butler, Wade, Ellis.
Oh yes, Sean Carter is nice, but Sean Price is the best. Sean gone, no Sean Dawn. Sean is a dawn I don't